Okay, I'm back in the same spot for Hebrews 6. What a meaty chapter, people. But one of the themes that stands out for me in Hebrews 6 is the theme of patience. And we've read a little bit of this already in Hebrews. The fact that we need to hold fast, remain steadfast, persevere. We've talked about that already. And I think that comes across again very strongly in Hebrews 6. You know, we're encouraged to be mature. Start developing a mature taste for the things of God, not just simple milk, but solid food. At the end of Hebrews 5, in verse 14, it said, solid food is for the mature, those who have their powers of discernment trained by constant practice to distinguish good and evil. Maturity requires patience. We cannot fast track it. We cannot push ourselves to the next level. There is something of the passing of time and of patience through that passing of time. But also the fact that this discernment is trained by constant practice, my version says. That implies a level of patience. To constantly practice anything means that you probably have great determination and focus and all of that good stuff, but also some patience to walk the journey of change, the process of growth. And we're encouraged at the beginning of Hebrews 6 to leave behind our elementary doctrine and leave behind anything that sounds like the old covenant, the law, working your way to righteousness. Again, just to remind you, we talked about this at the beginning of Hebrews, but the people of the early church would have faced persecution and challenge and threat, and it would have been very tempting to leave behind following Jesus and go back to what they knew, which was works and earning God's favor. But here I think there's an encouragement to stay, to be patient, to continue to persist in the things that you have found to be true, the things of Jesus, the things of salvation. Go on and find maturity in those things. And we hear about what it is to fall away from your faith, to fall away from following Jesus. And I just want to clarify here, this doesn't mean falling. We will all fall at points and we will all fail. But this is specifically, don't fall away from your assurance and your hope of salvation in Jesus Christ. Don't push that away and block it out. I would say that what causes people to fall away from their faith most often is disappointment. It's not seeing the things that they wanted to see through their life with Jesus. Maybe somebody gets saved and finds salvation and expects to change or have their life transformed or to have their circumstances immediately get easier. And when that doesn't happen overnight, or even in the kind of short time frame that we allocate for God to move, they get frustrated, they get discouraged, they get disillusioned, and they fall away from faith in Jesus. And I think here we're learning that the key to success is patience, wait and watch. We get this description in verse 7 of land that is fruitful, land that produces a fruitful crop, a fruitful harvest. And we know that harvest requires patience. Fruit does not spring out of the ground overnight. It is a yearly process, sometimes even longer, that requires our patience. And I think we're being urged here not to give up when we don't see solutions straight away, not to fall away from the good things of Jesus that we know just because it's hard right now. We just heard yesterday that suffering produces obedience. Jesus himself suffered, and we will go through times of suffering, but hold fast to his promises. I love verse 10 that says, God is not unjust as to overlook your work and the love that you've shown in his name in serving the saints as you still do. But we want you to show the same earnestness, to have full assurance of hope until the very end. Keep on having that assurance that Jesus has done it all for you, that God is working in your circumstance, so that you don't become sluggish. What is sluggishness? It's basically cynicism, discouragement, disappointment that leads us to stop practicing the action of our faith, loving people, praying for people, believing for breakthrough, being there for others, and holding Jesus firm in our own hearts. We won't become sluggish if we have a mindset of patience, that it is happening, that God is doing something under the soil. We can't see it yet, but we continue in the good works with the assurance of his promise. And then in verse 12, it also says, be imitators of those who, through faith and patience, inherit the promises. Not earn the promises or work hard for the promises, inherit the promises. All we have to offer in this exchange is faith, the steadfast belief that Jesus is doing it for us, and patience to know that even if we don't see it now, it's coming. It's coming, guys. We inherit promises through that. And so then we get this beautiful description of Abraham who believed, who in verse 15 patiently waited and obtained the promise. That's what we're encouraged to in God. We get reminded that his character is unchanging. He's not going to change on us now and do something that we're not, accustomed to know of him. He is good. He does not lie. And then finally in verse 18, it says, hold fast. We will hold fast to the hope set before us. And verse 19, we have this as a sure and steadfast anchor of the soul, a hope that enters into the inner place behind the curtain where Jesus has gone as a forerunner on our behalf. He is so good to us. Let's be patient and believe that we're going to see the breakthrough. Tell me what patience looks like and feels like for you. Share some of your journey with patience in the comments, please. But let me urge you that so much of this faith in Jesus is connected to our patience, and we inherit great promises when we stick it through to the end. I'll see you tomorrow.